neighborhood. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? Oh, you started 7 minutes ago? Is that the right stream? Good. Hey, everybody. Let's see. Share now. Welcome to another edition of Power to the People. I'm running a little late today, but I'm here. That's all that matters. But I'm here. Got Rashid and C. Wyatt.
I thought you were going to be behind the control board. I'm like, is he going to be behind the control board today?
I am supposed to learn it. I got a little busy this week, so I didn't get a chance. What you doing with those boots on?
I'm putting on my Christmas lights. You know, I go all in.
I know.
My lights up.
Santa Claus. Didn't somebody steal something off your lawn?
Yes.
What
they ran over to my Joy.
They ran over
Twice.
the Joy.
He ran
They
over
ran
my
it over.
Joy.
I mean, actually, like, took a bike and just ran. I looked some camera footage, and the guy just rolled. He was right on the sidewalk, just decided, I'm going to roll over Joy.
Twice.
That's
somebody who don't have no joy.
And then I went and got another Joy. You ain't going to stop me.
Well, that's how I feel about when people take something from me. When the guy helped himself to my new stuff in my garage, and I got the picture of him. I still keep the picture of my car. He don't come back in the neighborhood. I still got the picture of your uncle in my car. And the bad thing is, I really don't need the picture because he reminds me a little of Sean and my dad, his facial features, as he looked into the camera, as he stole my stuff, as he emptied my recycle bin and put my stuff in the recycle bin.
Did he like wave at you too on
No,
the camera?
but he
that's a complete insult.
He picked up the boys' basketball. He did all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So
That's the Grinch.
yeah, I'm gonna need those tablets because I'm gonna need a lot of feedback from social media today. So anyway, hopefully nobody. Do you have another Joy now?
I do.
You do.
I'm not playing. I came right back with Joy because I have joy.
Okay.
Even when somebody takes something from you. And you know what? Let me just say this real quick because people were hitting me up real quick because last night on Bailey and Kensington, one of the owners decided to put all of his mattresses that he's selling on the curb.
Now, I saw something on social media that said mattresses on Bailey, but I thought he was giving them away.
No.
Honest to goodness,
Yeah.
I saw Leona.
Yeah.
Says something about thank you to somebody and they said mattresses on Bailey. Let's debrief. What is that about?
So the guy, I stopped over because people were texting me. And I'm like, what the heck? So I go over there, and his mattresses literally all on the sidewalk.
Used mattresses?
No, they're brand new mattresses.
Oh.
That
Wait
he's
a
going to be
minute.
selling. So he had the mattresses, and they were in plastic.
But wait a
people still
minute, wait a minute. Was he there?
He was there.
Was the store open?
The store was open.
So he was advertising by putting the mattress outside?
No, he had just received them, and he said, "Well, I couldn't. I had
Oh.
I'm like, well, you should have used your back entrance, not the front entrance, where everybody's like, what the heck is going on? That you got hundreds of mattresses laying on the corner.
But
of Bailey
he was moving them in the store.
He was moving them in the store, but
Okay.
they were strewn everywhere. And there's
Were
an
they blowing
entrance-
around or they just all
They weren't
stacked
blowing
up?
around, but it's still people driving by like, what the heck? Is this a giveaway? You giving me mattresses? So I told him, I said, sir, use the back entrance. I said, this is not respectful to the community that you have hundreds of mattresses on Bailey and Kensington, one of the busiest.
Did he have a
thoroughfares.
back entrance where the truck could go?
Yeah,
Like to unload it?
He said it's a back door. So I'm like,
I don't know
sir,
what my grandson did.
You-
I only got one social media.
use the back door next time.
Okay.
Don't use the front door to bring in hundreds of mattresses. And people were going off. They're like, well, I'm not buying no mattress that was on the ground outside.
Well, first of all, I think it's rather ingenious.
It's
I do too.
ingenious.
I do too.
Absolutely. We talking about it.
I do too.
We talking about it. If I'm looking for a mattress, I mean, it's in plastic. You don't know when people deliver mattresses, even in the back, you don't know whether they sit on the ground, and you don't go home and just get on the mattress with the plastic on it.
Well, I want him to use that genius in another part of the city.
Well,
Use your genius somewhere else.
I'd have been like, see, I'm glad you explained it. I didn't know what. So let me tell you, I didn't, the social media and all that, but I saw it. So I'm like, they must be, because you like to give away turkeys and all that. So I said, he must be giving away some mattresses
sir.
because I saw Leona said, thank you.
Because Leona sent me a text saying, "Did you see this?" But she didn't send me the picture. And then I went on social media, and then someone else was calling me and texting me, and I saw the picture. I'm like, "What the heck?" And I had a meeting, so I'm rushing. I'm like, "Let me go take care of this real quick," because it was like hundreds of mattresses right on the corner.
I know, but it's
Classic
a
and
business district. It's not like the man put the mattresses outside all night with a security guard.
No, but they were like almost in the street. They were like,
okay.
almost on Bailey. It was that
Okay.
many mattresses.
Well, when like Wayfair and these other places you order. So first of all, don't ever order furniture you got to put together. Let me give you this. I taught my son that. I had ordered. I'm all off. I'm coming back to the matter. I had ordered a dresser for JJ's room one time, and I didn't look to see. I don't like. It came in a box. But anyway. So I told him, I said, don't you ever do this. Don't you ever, save your money and buy something quality. My point is this. When Wayfair or other places it's a curbside delivery.
Yeah.
So they drop, all these places don't bring it into your house, unless you go to a Raymore and Flanagan, something
Yeah,
like
because they'll
that.
grab your old furniture and all
Yeah,
that.
but these other places, if you ordering, they just going to do a curbside delivery, and that's it. So I mean, people saying they ain't going to go, but I'm going to tell you this. We talking about it. They were talking about it on social media. I'm telling
people
you,
ran over there.
Somebody going over. The man, So you went and made the man put his
I
mattress.
told him, I'm like, "Sir, please." "Well, I'm sorry. I didn't think this was a problem." I'm like, "Sir." I just always go back to this. You wouldn't do this in another neighborhood. You wouldn't go in another neighborhood and see mattresses all in the corner in the middle of the street as if they were free.
I bet you. I'm a little torn.
I am
It
too.
ain't my district, but I think
I'm very upset.
if it
Let's
was
put this
me,
on Jefferson and Utica.
if they moving them into the store, if they and you got a business in my community, I'd be like, you need some help?
Yeah.
How much is the mattress?
I might have been like, business that good over here?
You got 100.
I had people.
I ain't gonna hold you, dude. I'm going over. Now let me tell you why. I got one. I was looking, and especially got some full size because I got a frame that's a full size. Do you know they charge you more for a full size than a queen?
Yes.
Because people don't really do full size
No.
anymore. So I got it just in a guest room, and I noticed I've had it years, and so the box spring looks a little worn, and I hate that kind of. You know me, it's got to be
Yeah.
right. So I'm going over. See what that man.
See, if you
how much it
I would
is.
say, "Hey, somebody wants you to contact them because they're looking for a queen mattress,
I'm going.
even though it's on the ground outside.
don't
It's okay
care.
as long as it's in the
Listen, it's
plastic."
in the bag.
What do I care?
in the
It's in
bag.
heavy plastic. It's not like he got it in a place with bed bugs. He had it outside. He was moving it inside of the store.
And I was getting ready to say some of the factories and places that these
Yeah, you
places
don't know what they did.
I'm
Say, "Anthony, call the bishop. He looking for a mattress." "Anthony, call the bishop." He said, "Hey, I gotta give you my card." "Okay, sir."
Call
I'm
me
going
now.
over this afternoon.
Call me now. Call me.
He said, "Wyatt just told me about you. What do you think?"
Oh gosh, I'm gonna make this up with you. I'm going over this afternoon.
Mattresses on Bailey.
All right, so today, and we've talked about this before, but this is just wild to me. It is wild to me. So one of the TV stations interviewed me this week. Well, two. It's kind of crazy. So this one news agency came in from Amsterdam. No, was it Amsterdam? No. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. It was Amsterdam, and it's like their BBC. So it's the media is publicly funded. They have to fund it, but they're independent. So they go all over the world. These two guys come in interviewing about tops and all that kind of stuff. So basically talking about violence, right? So then later that afternoon, I had a local station come and interview me about the fighting in downtown with our young people. So I talked about Barbara Lark. Of course, all of it didn't air, Barbara Lark, who was the deputy police commissioner, who's now in charge of security for Buffalo Public Schools. And all the anti-violence groups and the police and parent, all the normal stuff that we've talked on this show. 2 hours later after doing this interview, I hear ambulance,
Yep.
fire, police, go downstairs, 16-year-old
Yep.
gets stabbed, listen to this, in front of, he didn't get stabbed at City Hall.
No.
Right.
He got stabbed at police
headquarters.
headquarters. Runs to City Hall. And I pray, let me say this in this conversation at the beginning. I pray for the young man who got stabbed. I really do. It's tragic. So he runs to City Hall to get help. Of course, ambulance is there. Barbara Light comes running out. So it's 2 hours later, and we've had this discussion. And the question is, and I want to kind of hear from social media audience, hear from people who are listening to be able to call in. I want to kind of have this little community meeting on the radio right now of what are your thoughts of, number one, what's happening, number one, and how to stem this without our young people having so much police contact. I'm going to look up, because when I was on the Juvenile Justice Board for the state, we did a study, and the study showed that the more police contact that young people have at an early age, the more comfortable they become with it, because they know the system. They know the system.
That's a different approach.
The more so it is so important to me, especially having been a part of that research, that that our young people have positive interactions with police, and not interactions where they're running away from them, where they begin to think in their mind they can outrun the police, or they get detained, or their bus card taken, or their school ID taken, and that's it. Because you don't want young people to become comfortable in these type of situations.
Right.
And so I'd really like to hear, let me share, I don't think I should, I did share. I'd really like to hear from people of your opinions of what's going on and how we can change this scenario that continues to happen after school in downtown Buffalo. And I know we have, a parent sent me a video this week, a very disturbing video of a young lady in class being beat, and this is local, by a young man.
Wow.
And people telling him, stop. And it was really hard to see. I am definitely not an advocate of adults taping children. I've said this for years. I think it's criminal. I think that when it's shared, and it's not shared for legal purposes, but it's shared for likes and giggles and all that on social media, I think it's criminal. I feel like it should be criminal. It's inciting violence to me. So, but I think a student recorded this. So I would imagine the parent was probably pretty thankful, because they went to the police and they had this video of this larger guy beating this girl in her face, and her trying to hide her face. I just need to try to understand what is it that we can do better. What is it, because it's easy. We talked about this. We just talked about this. But the reason I bring it back up is because he could have died. Yeah. He could have died. And the brazenness, and I don't know the story, so I'm not taking sides. I don't know the young man, not that I know of. I don't know anything intimately about this, so I'm in no way making a judgment call on that situation. I'm not in no way making it. I don't have enough information. But I do have enough information of being one who has gotten out of my car and hundreds of youth.
Yep.
And now you got frustrated police. You got frustrated. Even I witnessed last year when some of the people from the anti-violence groups quit right there on the street. One young man he had a backpack on. He was like, I don't need this S. Kids weren't listening. The police and the anti-violence folks, were kind of going at it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not good. All right, here comes some stuff. What's your thought on it? We're talking about the youth and the stabbing that just happened.
Well, I mean, but it's just something that seems to just continue. I mean, I think I talked about this years ago when I saw two young people fighting in the middle of the street, and there were parents almost as if, let it go, let it go. And I'm like, what is that to teach? And then you had a crowd of kids, so this is still continuing. And I know that people always say that, there's not enough for youth to do. And honestly, I think there is not a lot of youth to do. But then when there is things for youth to do,
Let's talk about that.
Who's getting them involved? What parent is taking their kids to get involved? You have things here at the church all the time, regularly. How many children, how many parents bring their children to those activities that are positive? It's not a lot that people want to do. And it just seems like, again, I know the superintendent and I know board member President Cotman talked about parents getting involved. And I do agree. Parents have to be involved. You just can't send the kid to school and then not have priorities or have guidelines for them. There has to be an engagement part. And I think that engagement part is missing.
Well, it's wild that Duncan would walk in the door because I was just looking this morning. He was at some school. You're at schools all the time. He's making his life on these schools. Well, it was something. What school? Something rock? No, maybe not. I don't know. What was the last school you were at?
I was at the Navajo Nation 2 days ago
Yeah.
in Arizona, so on an Indian reservation.
Uh-huh.
A couple schools out there. Or last week, Rushville and the Finger Lakes.
Something,
Rushville,
but the name was different. So let me give you, because I do want to hear your opinion on this. I'm glad you walked in the door. Adrian Marble says on social media, after school programs, they certainly kept me busy. But here's my question. Because Board of Education now has Saturday school for certain schools. Some schools now are back up and running with the after school programs. There are programs at some of the gymnasiums, our rec centers. Okay, so when I was growing up, and my maternal family grew up in the Perry Projects. Mm-hmm. Now, I will admit there was a lot to do. There was a lot. The gym was there every day. My uncles and aunts would go to the gym. They had a marching band. They had all that. But do you think that really there's not a lot for kids to do? Anybody weigh in?
So I will say I think it's different only from a technology or a society standpoint.
Okay.
Because I feel for how I grew up, it was go to school, do good in school, and then get involved. I was pushed to get involved in activities.
Okay.
And then, but it was like, even if you are home, sorry, Duncan, I just realized
I saw it, but I was like, hey, don't stop the flow.
Yes, I just feel like, and I know parents are getting a bad rap, but you have some that are legitimately 2 and 3 jobs. So they're trusting the school to get the systems to educate my kid, get my kid home, and then when I finish my second job, then I'm there. But if you don't already have something inside of you as the kid, it's like, let me go home, let me do my homework, or let me join this club at school, let me join this sport at school. So now I'm not getting home until my parent is coming home. Mm-hmm. And I think that's some of that, because like you said, even if there is programming, if it's not put into the kid to go do that, that's pointless.
Duncan, you're at schools all over this country, now all over this world, because you've been outside of the country. What's your thoughts?
So I think in Buffalo, we actually have a school district that is set up for students to succeed where parents are engaged. Mm-hmm. So if you're an active parent and you live in Buffalo, there's all type of stuff for your kid.
And that's my point of when I hear people saying there's nothing for them to do.
So that's just not true.
Okay.
So there is an exorbitant amount of resources, activities, and programs in this school, in this city, in this Western New York region. Like, it's so much, but you have to be involved to know. I think our biggest problem is we do a bad job of promotion. So parents don't know. Like the average parent, if you said, what are some options for your kid to do or be involved in? The average parent don't know. They're going to say whatever the closest community center is, right? But there's really hundreds of programs for you. If your kid has special needs, they got a whole departments and meetings and events and field trips for your student. If your student loves reading. They got book clubs and they have so many programs, but we don't promote well in Buffalo. And that's not just for the school district. That's for the city, the county. Like, you got to be in the know to know, right? And unfortunately, a lot of our community is so busy trying to survive. They don't follow Pastor Pridgeon on Facebook. They're not looking at the community newsletter or whatever because they don't know. So we got to do a better job, as leaders, to meet people where they are and like push it hard. Just like I tell people all the time, there's no excuse for us for people in the community not to know, because when it's election time, people know how to get their face in front of people. They know how to get them on the phone then. They know how to get in their email then all of a sudden. When we were in remote learning, all of a sudden you could reach parents. You could connect with parents all the time. Now we don't know how to reach parents. We don't know how to get that. So it has to be the urgency around it all the time to engage parents and put these out, because parents are trying. There are some parents that ain't worth 2 cents. I'm gonna be real. There are some parents that legit. They almost view their child as competition. Like, who you think you are? You think you smart? You ain't better than me, right? But the super majority of parents want what's best for their kids. And if they just knew, hey, your kid is struggling with this, here's 6 programs that work really well that's gonna help them get to Weldon School or help them get to college, you would be like, you know what? Okay, cool. You go to that. You go to that this week. But if you don't know,
right?
You know what I mean? It's a lot harder.
That's interesting for somebody who's in schools all the time now. To hear you say that there are, because I don't hear many people. Most people just go right to that fallback. It ain't nothing for them to do.
Absolutely.
And as if it is the government's responsibility to entertain and watch your children. Now, what's interesting, somebody, I guess one of the news agencies had on like a look back over years and had me on, and it was Concerned Citizens Against Violence, and they had the curfew. And I was being interviewed about the curfew. And that's when Mazziello was in. There was a curfew. Kids had to be in at 9. And then on the weekends, it never worked. Never worked. It went away as fast as it came. And they were housing them in one area. Well, part of the reason it worked because they couldn't find the parents.
Yeah.
So now you got kids who you got to keep overnight because you can't just let them go back out to the street. But I have always felt like government should help, but that the full responsibility of educating is on the parent. But every child does not have, and Duncan, you hit it, does not have a responsible parent.
No.
And I don't think the child should suffer because of the parent who is absent. Let me read some of these comments.
And then
Go ahead.
I just want to say something about the violence y'all was talking about earlier. I think that one of the biggest problems in our city with violence, not just for children, but for everybody in our city, is hopelessness. I think that people keep trying to put a Band-Aid on it. Like, okay, we need more security, or we need more of this, or we got to monitor this. And that's you trying to solve the immediate problem, which is important, of keeping people safe. But I think the bigger problem is kids are hopeless. So if you go to school, you don't feel like you got a future, you don't feel like you're going to college or the army or whatever, like you don't feel like you have a future. This moment is all that matters. So who cares if you stab somebody or if you get in trouble? It doesn't mean anything because you don't see yourself being successful. So I think that yes, we need more security and more safety, all of that. And we need to figure out how every day at school there are adults telling every kid, you're going to be amazing. You're going to change the world. You're going to be successful. You're going to break that curse. Oh, you like this? Oh, you should check this out. There's a program for that. Oh, you like gaming? They give college scholarships for that. Why don't you join this club? Right. Every day.
But that's what the importance, and I know you want to get in. We're going to go to a break. Listen, I got to run over to the station. I got to pay the bills. I'm going to pay the bills, and then we're coming back. I'm going to read some of the comments from social media. This is a very important conversation that we are having about our youth, and we have to make sure that they are on the forefront. I'm coming to the station in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
When it comes to something as personal as your clothes, you need to deal with somebody you can trust. That's why so many people turn to Hobson's Dry Cleaning, conveniently located in the heart of the community at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming.
When you take your clothes to Hobson's, you can trust that they'll be ready on time.
You can trust that your whites will be white.
You can trust that you'll always get a fair price and service with a smile.
You can even trust that you won't have to get out of your car if you don't want to. Hobson's has a drive-through window for your convenience.
Trust is what it's all about at Hobson's Dry Cleaning.
Hobson's Dry Cleaning, your one-stop dry cleaners serving the community for over 30 years at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming. Call 891-8298. That's 891-8298.
Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home has 3 locations to serve you in Buffalo: 347 Peckham, 2258 Bailey Avenue, and Providence Memorial Chapel at 1275 Sycamore. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes offers traditional services, and they have services for all faiths. And at Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes, they have air-conditioned parlors and chapels. Financing is available, as is limousine service. At those difficult moments in your life, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes is available where you are with counseling services. Call toll-free 877-885-7734. That's 877-885-7734. Or locally 845-5545. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes. We are here to serve you, here to serve this present age. Call today, toll-free 877-885-7734. Or email info@brianklewisfuneralhome.com.
Justine Harris on Facebook says, so I attended a multicultural night at East, and there was a basketball game between East and Bennett. In addition to what Duncan said, the audience was quiet. The cheerleaders don't cheer when their team is down. It just felt like the youth are not encouraged to get involved in cheering for the teams, encouraging the athletes to leave everything on the court, to be aggressive, blah, 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 blah. My granddaughters always know their grandmothers in the crowd cheer. And I think that's about being involved. Here's another interesting comment. Sandra King says they're doing what they are taught, meaning they see with their parents do every day. And I'm just reading comments. There was another one. So somebody said, Tina Johnson on Facebook, I'm not saying this is what Tina Johnson said. Marijuana plays a big part in this going on with these children. I've been near some of them, and they will be rolling and smoking. Justine Harris asked a question, can non-members of True Bethel attend activity? Absolutely. We have never had a member requirement to participate. So she feels like maybe, and we just had a marijuana incident, a cannabis incident at one of our schools, not tying the two together, but I'm just saying this, it's legal. That's what you do. That's what you do. Keep it away from the little kids. Okay, that's another show, because I really think we need to have a discussion about cannabis being made into images that would attract children. Because we're talking about that with the vapes and how they were flavoring them to attract people. But people have got to be responsible. You can be mad at me. I don't give a daggone. If you participate, you do cannabis, and you got gummies, and you got little kids, because it ended up making a lot of kids at the school sick, and they did not know that it was cannabis. So that means somebody had it in the house where children could get to it.
And I was just getting ready to say, that to me that goes back to the user or the household, because like you said, if it's just say edible Skittles or whatever, then I need to know. Like, I got a 4-year-old sitting there. Let me go ahead and put the supply up if I walk out the room, because just that 1 second, just like with anything else,
absolutely,
the kid can start taking it, or now they're putting it with their school lunch.
Yes.
But now with the high schoolers, that is legit. People,
they know what to do.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. People are supplying, whether it's the store or the household, and that's what's sad and tragic. The legalization was for adult recreational use.
Absolutely.
Adult recreational use. So it's on that adult that's recreationally using to be responsible for everyone in the household as well.
Yeah, and we'll have that. I really do. If you all remind me, I do want to have that discussion, because we're seeing more and more young elementary school who also know
Yeah.
what they're doing now, getting high. But I'm concerned about the ones who don't know. You had a thought.
And I think that, that part of that discussion is when it was legalized, it always seems as though these things go against Black and brown communities. And I can't say it enough. It seems we make decisions that I know in some cases about dollars and cents, but we put our children at risk and we put them further behind. And I was just watching something on Facebook, and it was Udonis Haslem. He's a basketball player for the Miami Heat. And he had this woman who his mom was able to raise him. So this woman raised him, and she recently passed. But I heard her speaking to some children, and she was saying that we have to speak to these children life. And we have to constantly encourage them, because there's so many negative things, especially now with social media. There's so many negative things that bring our children down. How do we evaluate, or how do we get people who are like Duncan? Duncan speaking right now, I was like, oh my God, this dude need to be speaking in front of all these kids, because they need to be inspired. And they need people that are going to speak life into them so that they can make the right decisions, because he's right. There are some parents who are working 2 and 3 jobs. They don't have the time to be able to go to their child's school and take care of things. It's real. It's not something that they're not doing because they don't want to.
Right.
Because Sam Radford said who you had the same conversation as council member. You got to understand the stress on parents, and you got to deal with that reality. But I think as a city, as a community, if we don't start putting more emphasis on our children, nobody else will.
I agree.
And that's what has to be. Pastor, the church started with these children. I remember the parents who would bring all their children to
Why you
church.
think we brought back the puppets?
Yes.
I mean, during it might seem something small, but those kids look forward to children's church. They look forward to. So on that realm, and Adrian is on. And they have terrific people who work with them, and one of them is a former teacher. You have people. One of our senior members loves doing children's church more than being in church. It seems like, and they love it. So it's so important, and I'm glad they asked the question. Justine asked the question: do you have to be a member? We've never ever had, and I'm retiring from one job now. And obviously, I'm going to put a lot of focus, because COVID just, it just did so much to so many churches across this country. And we've been blessed at True Bethel, but I definitely need to ramp back up what we were doing for our children and youth. And we put the money together to make that happen. But let me read you something that Adrian says, and she was honest about her own. She said, as a parent of a child who went through every program, including True Bethel, as we are members, sometimes the issues are much deeper than we would like to acknowledge. I appreciate this so much, Adrian. Listen to what she says. My son started at 13 and is now 32 and spent most of his life in prison. My dad wasn't there, he says, so what do you say and do for that? Thank you, Adrian, for sharing it, because it's kind of quiet in the room. Because I keep saying it's not every. I don't appreciate when people say it's all the parents.
No.
Because it's not.
No.
There's so much pressure even on young people. And that's why I was glad when the superintendent, and anybody who thinks I just brag about superintendent a lot, I kind of do.
Yeah.
And I do only because when she said we need more counselors, and it's just what you're talking about, Duncan, and I think you need more guidance counselors, and you need more counselors, mental health counselors. And that's why here, every Thursday night, that bus is outside that you can get on with Best Self, and you can just talk. You can get on for 3 minutes,
Right.
and just talk.
Can I just say something about counseling? So my wife is a counselor.
Yes.
Right? So she's a therapist. She does psychotherapy and stuff. And what I learned from her, because
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Sometimes you're just ignorant to stuff.
Yeah.
So I thought counseling was all about, you got a problem and you got this expert telling you how to fix your problem because you're dealing with stuff and you don't know how to do it. Or you got like a mental illness and you need medication. That's what I thought, all through most of my life. But what Carolyn has taught me is some people legit just talk.
Yes.
So she said some of her clients, she don't say nothing. She said, hey, good afternoon.
And they
they just
go.
talk for an hour straight. They've been waiting all week just to get it out. But sometimes that's the therapy they need.
Yeah.
So when we talk to young people, your young person ain't crazy, or
Yes,
you're not
yes,
a bad
yes,
parent
yes.
because they need to go to the guidance counselor or need therapy. No, sometimes they just, all the stuff, the baby daddy issue, drama, stress, the lights got cut off, I'm struggling in the class,
Yes.
I feel stupid because I'm not a good reader, whatever. Sometimes you just need to say it feel validated. Now you can breathe. Now, okay, how should I move
Yeah,
forward?
yeah.
And that's
yeah.
all it needs sometimes. So I think that you are doing this here. That's
Yeah.
That's so big.
When Best Self came to me, because they actually approached us, but even before Best Self was around, True Bethel, there was another program. It was in University District, Heart Foundation. True Bethel hired them.
Yeah.
So that what I did is I got a contract with them. So that if I met with a person and it was beyond my spiritual knowledge,
Right.
and felt that you need a counselor and you didn't have a insurance, we paid for it. We
Yeah.
literally, I was able to marry the spiritual side
Absolutely.
with this flesh, this brain, this all that, and say we can bring them together, and it doesn't have to be one or the other or exclusive. And so I've been an advocate for mental health since almost the beginning of pastoring.
And I think that's really important, because I think before, Black and brown communities thought mental health was a stigma.
It was.
I'm not
You're
telling
crazy.
anybody
Yeah.
about that. I'm crazy. Well, we've all had a lot of crazy people in our families, but now that it's bringing it mainstream, and it's okay to talk, like this woman who talked about her son, and the father in jail. Those are real things that I don't know how to overcome that. I don't know what to say. You somebody can tell you that stuff, but you try to be present, but that child might be missing a lot of things. I was fortunate to have my father in my life. I can't imagine not having a father. But those are things that some of us just can't comprehend. Not having a father, not having a responsible mother. Those are real issues that children are dealing with that in some cases they may not know how to navigate through.
Absolutely. What were you about to say, Mike?
I was going to say that, and I know we hound on education because that's something we truly believe.
Right.
But listening to Duncan and even the comment, I think we put a lot of blame on education, but there's other systems that are corroding education. So like she said, we look at education and programming, but as you said, we all get speechless when we don't talk about the criminal justice system that's been taking away Black fathers.
Absolutely.
So there's other systems, so that's the criminal justice system, or then you have the social system injustice where people have to make the decision: do I go back to school to make more money, but then I can't afford daycare and others.
Yes.
So now we're in the benefit cliffs issue. So it's all these systems that then get compounded on the kids or education, because then parents are crazy, kids are struggling.
And mostly on poor parents.
Parents, yes.
And then for us as minorities, and I don't mind talking about
Yeah.
for many times, the majority on African Americans and people of
Yes.
color.
Yep.
And that is so hard to break out of that
Yes.
system. I think about parent or families so my family, like I said, my maternal family, Perry Projects. But I remember when my first, I think it was either my uncle or my aunt. I can't remember whether it was Gil or Glenn, when they first got their own house. And that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And eventually, everybody got their own house. Everybody moved out except my grandmother. And my grandmother said she wasn't moving nowhere because that free heat.
Absolutely.
And by that time, she had retired, she had a stroke. And so obviously that was a good fit. That's the fit that she
Yes.
needed for her life. But at the end of the day, there were some generations that's where they stay, and they never, or even on education, there's
Right.
nobody who has graduated from to this day.
Right.
There are families that you got to realize nobody has
Still the
graduated
first.
from high school or from college. And if you think I'm lying, I promise you I can introduce them to you.
Yeah.
There are many still here. So there's this whole thing, and now you putting them in the same classroom
Yep.
with the kid who's trying to go to college, and just the drama. And somebody said on here about the trauma. I think May Bynum says about the trauma. Montrese says mentors are important as well. When I went through the Buffalo Public School System, we had mentors who took us on jobs, and we linked up with mentors and careers. I don't think we have as many mentors anymore. I really don't.
Okay.
Go ahead.
First, mentor, I want to shout out Wendy Richard. She was the assistant principal of performing arts. She was the only adult in the building that told me I could be something. The only one. But that's all it took.
Was that one? Yeah,
that changed my whole course from
yeah.
skipping class, detention,
Yeah,
every other day,
yeah.
right? Dr. Reynolds, she was my principal. She used to give me detention every other day because I'd be doing the wrong thing.
Right.
And it was only one adult that said, you know what, Duncan, I see greatness in you, and let's change this, right? So that's number one. Number two, as far as the education, to Mark's point, you said we focus on education. Like, it's not because BPS is bad or doing something wrong. It's because education, the school system, is the only opportunity where we have all the kids and we can make a generational shift. You know what I mean? So it's not like, BPS is doing hard work. They got a lot of programs. So it's not that. It's that if we can continue to push that space to be better for kids, we can change outcomes for the whole community.
No, absolutely.
And I know you know that. I just wanted to
Yeah.
say that for
Yeah.
others, because I think that's the thing. Access to education is the only way to break generational poverty.
Yeah.
It's the only way is access to education, which is why we hire so much. And the last thing before I go,
No, we good.
People need to understand the biggest problem in this country. Every principal I talk to in every corner of this country, they say COVID set our kids back 2 years.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Not just in learning, but in maturity.
Absolutely.
So imagine you have 14-year-olds at the maturity of a 12-year-old, but now they 6 foot.
Yeah.
Right now,
You
their
preaching.
actions have consequences.
You preaching.
And I think that we really have never dealt with that. And because of that, we're seeing all these social media. Remember they used to say, don't spend too much time on the phone?
Yep.
During COVID, all we had was the phone.
You preaching.
That was all we had was the screen. So all those bad things we knew were happening, they happened 15 times worse.
Yeah, it got
'cause
accelerated.
Your only connection to the world was what they show you on social, which we know is fake, undermine self-esteem, all of that stuff. So it's like we still haven't dealt with the COVID problem. So we need a lot for our kids. But the beautiful thing is kids are resilient. They're just naturally more resilient than adults.
Dr. Daphne McNabb, and thank you for all you who are participating. Social media is blowing up. Dr. McNabb says, we definitely need mentoring within our school for students and teachers. I'm taking a class in teaching mentoring and was one for UBTR. Yeah. So, I mean, all of this that's going around this room right now is just so correct. And the energy that's in this room for our young people. But I agree with you. It has to, or one of you said, it has to be all the time. It has to be constant because the kids who are in the most trouble right now after COVID look like everybody in this room.
Yeah.
They are in the most, because other schools were still in other schools, they were already ahead.
Yeah.
So now these children are competing in a minute or right now in a world in which educationally, you brought some insight and mature, that they're behind. And if they don't have any examples around them, now they're really behind. So I think I'm starting to approach this, and I think I've always tried to approach it with compassion, but with even more compassion for our young people, and knowing, because it's really I kind of lighten the fire. This show always lights a fire in me about different things, but I have to take on my own personal responsibility as a pastor in the city, and I'll tell you why. You talked about the programs here, but maybe you got to do something different. Just what you said. Maybe because our desire is for them to come here.
Yeah.
I might have to rethink kind of because I believe in personal responsibility, because it's easy to say they should be doing this.
Yeah.
It's harder to say I'm doing this.
Right.
And this church takes up an offering. We don't take up a sunshine fund. We don't take up a building fund. We take up a youth offering. So that means that we have some resources to be doing even more than what we're doing, but it might have to be somewhat outside. I don't know the answer. I could just say I'm listening to what you all are saying, and as a pastor, I'm taking it to heart.
And I think what Mark talked about as far as systems, there are systems that are designed for us to fail.
Absolutely.
I mean, when I think of social services, that they reward single parent homes. If you married, you ain't getting no money.
Yeah.
If you got a man, you got a parent, mother and father, you ain't getting as much. But if you're single, we're gonna try to give you everything. You got 5 kids, we're gonna reward you with all that. And that's the thing that kind of, again, it teaches us to how do we get around that?
Yeah.
we don't want our children to get married. We do want our children to get married. We want them to be all they can be. But that's one of the things that I've always thought about. Like, how do you set up a system like that? And you're talking about families and strengthening families, but you give money based on a single parent home as opposed to a parent. Even for a father.
Yeah.
There's a father that's doing the right thing with his children, and
can't
he
get
can't
any
get as
of it.
much as a
Nope.
woman. What is that? But it affects black and brown families.
Let me give you some of the social media. Montrese says, I'm still in touch with my mentor, and I had to be accountable to him as well as my parents. Daphne comes back to you, Duncan. I want you to answer this. She says, this is true, Duncan, but kids, and I think she means like, but some kids don't think that education is a necessity but optional.
Right. So Daphne is big on education. So
Absolutely.
So she gets it.
Yep.
And a lot of kids don't think education is important. They just have to go to school.
Yeah.
Right. That's all they know. I have to go to school. So but that goes back to think of it like this is what I always tell people. Let's imagine a kid goes to City Honors.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kid gonna stab somebody?
Probably not.
Probably not. What's the difference?
The-
Because guess
the
what?
odds are.
Because guess what? It's black kids from the hood
That
that
go
go
to
to
City
City
Honors.
Honors.
Yes.
So why is a black kid from the hood who go to City Honors less likely to stab somebody? It's because that kid is on track to success and they know it. They know they have
Yeah.
a future. Whereas in some places, the kids don't think they have a future.
It's that hope.
So because they don't foresee their life turning into something, the decisions they make, good or bad, don't have a bearing on the future because they don't see a future. So I think that for me, and the reason I do what I do is because if I can get that light to come on, that like, yo, no, you love doing that, you love singing, that could be your whole career. Now let's get you in this course. Let's get you in this. All of a sudden, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about my son personally.
Yeah.
My son hated school, always trying to finish his work fast, grades hover around a C. I'm like on him. You know what I mean? I'm on it. He just will not take it seriously. Then we find out one day he loves airplanes. So we start watching YouTube videos. He decides he want to be a pilot. So now we look at flight school.
Right.
Instantly. Oh, my grades got to get up to get in flight school. Just by identifying that one thing, that's what I want to do. Now today matters when you go to school. So it's just like finding that light for each kid. And again, that's a community thing. It could be a community mentor like the Omega Mentoring. It could be
Yep.
an after-school program like BPS Guy. It could be a parent. It
So
could be a church. It's so much.
Let me tell you, because I know you got a lot. I want to read something from. No. Let me tell you what I need to do, and we'll talk about this offline. Because I think that with the book, and the book is an easy read for young people, and I'd like to figure out a way when we come back from Bible study, when we come back, because we only have one left in the year, when we come back in 23, for you to spend some of the Thursdays going over the book and speaking to the young people. And really making that a big deal to have like a series of 3 weeks and give the kids, the church will buy the book, give the kids the book, and for you to we'll talk about that. That's important.
Yeah, I like that. I completely agree. And I was just going to piggyback on what Duncan said because I had to have a talk with one of the kids I coach because I started getting wind. 3-year student at the school, good grades, was in the school that we visited for middle school. So this has been years and years. So then I get word right before the last game, such and such is talking about transferring to public school. Why would you transfer to public school for your senior year? Like you've been excelling at the private school. Oh, his dad is locked up and he just wants to go live that life.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah. And that breaks your heart.
Right. Like, you are on track to playing football on a football scholarship.
Yeah.
But you're like, oh, no, I'll finish high school so I can go dress how I want to and look the part of everyone that I see around me. And it's just tragic. Going back to your point.
Eva Doyle, and we're going to do that. I got to do more of that, not just with you, but very targeted.
Targeted, yes.
Very public of what we. Y'all bless me right now. And I'm doing it after I retire from one job. Eva Doyle, greetings, Bishop. I recently had an essay contest in which the students wrote about fighting in public spaces. The comments they wrote are very interesting. They wrote about the fact that some students are being bullied in Facebook and on Instagram and Snapchat, and the beefs are never solved. A few students wrote about the issues that go on at home. They wrote about how they don't work. One one student suggested that students, parents, teachers, staff sit down together and discuss these issues. The students whose essays were very emotional, some of the parents came to the award program and listened to their students and read their essays. One student ended his essay with these words, quote, "My advice to adults is to not give up on us." End of quote. I'm going to publish their essays. These are 9th and 10th graders.
Wow.
And Pastor, I just want to add more to what you were saying. Duncan just drilled right down to the point. You know, we had vocational high schools. Those have gone away. Because for me, when I was going to Seneca, if I wasn't going to go to college, at least I knew I could be an electrician.
Yeah.
That's that hope you're talking about. But now they don't have that piece, unfortunately. It's in BOCES. But I think if there's a way that we could evaluate a child, you know, they have the Myers-Briggs, and it teaches you how you think or what your personality. If we could find that for a child and help them to identify what they excel at, is not necessarily what we want them to excel at, what they excel at. What is it that you love, that you want to do? I think we get them earlier to really start following that, hey, I need education, help me get there. Like you talked about your son, wanting to be a pilot. Now I know it connects. If I do this, I can get to there. But if I don't do that, I can't get there. But I think we got to have a way to get to these kids early on to find out and identify what is their strength? What is it that makes them tick?
Yep.
Because it's not, you know, math ain't for everybody.
Yep.
History ain't for everybody.
Hobson's, the Dr. Dry Cleaner, 874 East Delavan. That's how we are able to do this and have these important conversations. My mind is going a mile a minute, so it's almost hard to read these because I already know what I got to do, at least here in this house. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes, 3 locations to serve you: Peckham, Bailey, and Sycamore. In your hour of need, the number is 845-5545, 845-5545. This week they took care, among other families, Mary Hall, the Shirley Burgum family, and other families this week. Thank you to Hobson's, the Doctor of Dry Cleaning, and to Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes for your sponsorship. Listen, folks, it's been a great conversation, but we got to do more than talk about it. We got to be about it, and we got to do what we are talking about doing. Every child does not have a responsible parent. That's just life, and a lot of it does come from systems that are set up not for our kids at times. But as a community, as together, we can do it. We talk about a white supremacist who came and shot up somebody in our city, and we were united that our city had to be better. Our city is not going to be any better because of a grocery store. Our city will be better with educated young people who, you're right, Duncan, who have hope. Until next week, we say power to the people.